And Pre-Med Solutions is a comprehensive mentoring program, and we're trying to help increase the number of underrepresented minority students that are getting into medical school. And so we're just trying to help you with whatever your needs are in terms of getting into school. We are so fortunate today that we have 14 schools that are with us. These are 14 of the top schools in terms of the percentage of underrepresented minority students in their first year classes. And so we want to support those schools that support us. So again, we want to thank each and every one of you for being here with us. Just some housekeeping. We want to ask you, the audience, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and we will try to get to your questions. Our panelists will be answering your questions very briefly, but then they will also be answering your questions more fully in the chat. We will have 20-minute session at the end of the first 7, and then another 20-minute session at the end of the second 7 individuals that will be presenting. So again, we want to welcome all of you to this event. And again, we want to thank all of our panelists from across the country, top medical schools in the country, and those schools that support our students. So we're going to get started early, and that way we may have a little bit of extra time. So our first speaker will be from the University of Pittsburgh.
Trying to share my screen, but it says host disabled attendee screen sharing.
Can you enable the screen sharing, please, Jada?
So hello everyone, my name is Rhonda White. I'm from the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine. I work in the Office of Diversity Programs, and I'll just go ahead and get started with what we were planning to introduce to you by PowerPoint. It's still not working, so I'm just going to go ahead and talk about what
I think she's enabled it now.
Okay, let's see. So again, I'm from the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine, Office of Diversity Programs. The School of Medicine has a mission as it relates to how we support our students, and it's a mission to educate science-based and compassionate clinicians. The school is committed to excellence in shaping a culture of teaching and learning and research at our institution, and we do this by preparing in regards to curriculum that we have for students. Students can experience a variety of teaching at Pitt Med through our patient-doctor relationship, in addition to rigorous training and study of basic sciences in the first 2 years of medical school. We offer courses that deal with the human side of medicine. Starting in the first year, students are exposed to medicine and being practiced in primary care and ambulatory settings. For our longitudinal research projects, all medical students engage in scholarly research that has been incorporated longitudinally throughout their curriculum. The simulation training programs, medical students engage in comprehensive learning activities using whole body simulators. And most students who participate in this seek additional elective time within these training modules to develop other clinical skills. The small group learning, is also known as problem-based learning, or PBL, which engages small faculty mentored groups of first and second year students. The integrated life science program that we offer is a 4-year integrated life science program, which includes courses that revisit some aspects of basic science. Through our standardized patient, throughout the medical education, students encounter standardized patients who are actors that are specifically trained to present realistic and consistent behavior symptoms, which help students to develop their clinical skills. We then have the evidence-based medicine, which is an ongoing focus of curriculum, which teaches students how to critically evaluate the medical literature and to use medical databases to make patient care decisions based on best practice. And then finally, as part of our curriculum, is the longitudinal patient experiences, where students opt to have additional patient experiences through the Longitudinal Alliance Project, which pairs students with a patient. And faculty from the Department of Family Medicine choose cases for this component of our education. Other areas of concentration are the medical science training program, which provides an opportunity for medical students who are interested in biomedical research. We offer the clinical science training program, which is a competitive one-year research training program that provides medical students who are interested in clinical research careers an opportunity to learn clinical research approaches and skills. And this is typically taken on by students between their third and fourth years of medical education. And then finally, the physician scientist training program is a 5-year program for talented students who, in addition to their regular curriculum, dedicate a year and 2 summers to laboratory-based research training and enrichment courses to prepare in academic medicine. These are some statistics that I have as it relates to the incoming class. This was from last year. They're still relevant for this year as well. We're still working on developing the new 2020 admission statistics. But this gives you a general overview of the...
Ms. White, we're not able to see that. Your screen is not sharing anymore, but we're actually coming to the end of those 5 minutes, but we're going to get everyone's statistics and provide that to the students.
Okay, then my talk is complete. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we will have our representative from Florida State University.
Hi, my name's Devalda Bello. I am representing the Florida State University College of Medicine, the admissions department. I have to keep it brief, and so I will attempt to share my screen. I'm sure you guys will have my contact information. You can reach out to me via email with any questions. Let me pull up my screen here. So just very briefly about the Florida State University College of Medicine. We are a very unique College of Medicine. We are a very mission-focused school. We are basically trying to create primary care doctors that will stay in the state of Florida to practice medicine to underserved and disadvantaged areas. And so because of this mission, we do accept out-of-state students, but we do give preference to Florida residents or anyone with strong ties to Florida. So please keep that in mind. I'm sure you guys will be provided with this information, so I don't want to waste too much time on the numbers, but I will just touch on the fact that we are a very selective school here at the Florida State University College of Medicine. In 2019, we received over 7,300 applications. And then out of that 7,300, we interviewed about 280 or 285 between those two numbers. And then out of that, we only had to make about 140 offers in order to fill a class of 120. So please keep that in mind, that we do give preference to Florida residents and we are very selective. And that's our MD, and same process with our PA admissions, and you can see that information there. So we have a holistic review process, and so here at the Florida State University College of Medicine, we are looking at everything on the application when making a decision to extend an interview invite and then an acceptance. And so we like for applicants to have all three: academics, activities, and attitudes. Um, and so obviously with the academics, we're taking a look at your GPA, we're taking a look at the science GPA in particular. Also, we're taking a look at the MCAT, and that's just the academics. And then activities, we are looking at your shadowing. We're taking a look at where you volunteered, if you completed any extracurricular activities during your undergraduate years, the different positions that you may have shadowed, any leadership roles that you may have had on campus. We're taking a look at all of that information, how you answer the questions on the primary and secondary application as well is important. Attitudes, usually this will come through in your writing with your personal statement or your letters of recommendations. So the qualities of an applicant: is the applicant capable of completing the curriculum? And so of course, that's where your academics play a role. Here at the Florida State University College of Medicine, we do consider a GPA of 3.7 overall to be academically competitive and an MCAT score of 507 to be competitive. Will the applicant provide good medical care to patients after completion of training? That's where the other two elements come in with attitude and activity. And so we're definitely looking for the total package. With this slide, these are more qualities that we're looking at when reviewing applications. And I won't touch too much on this because you can see these are the different factors that we take into consideration when reviewing applications and extending interview invites and extending acceptances. Qualities of an applicant, once again, very self-explanatory, just more things that we're looking at. We're looking at your medically related experiences. We're taking a look at your volunteer service, if you've completed any research. Even paid employment is taken into consideration, and other social activities. And so also, like I said, when it comes to attitudes by the applicant, we're looking at your personal statement, we're looking at your letters of recommendation, we're looking at your practice vision in order to ascertain what type of person you are and if you will provide good medical care. So we're taking a look at everything on the application. I also strongly encourage you guys during undergrad to go ahead and start making those connections with your professors. Go ahead and start shadowing different doctors, so then in the future you can get those letters from them versus just being another student in the class or just another person just shadowing. Build those relationships with those people so they can write the best letters for you. Qualities of an applicant that are red flags for us: low numbers. Let's say you started out your first year, you had a 3.7 overall GPA, but then it's declining each year. That's a red flag. Versus if it's the opposite, if you start with a not so great GPA, but over your next couple of years, you get it up, that's a positive. So that's
Ms.
just.
Bello, you have about 10 seconds.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
This 5 minutes goes by fast. I apologize, but we got to get everybody in.
Presentation ever. Okay. Like I said, we're looking at academics, activities, and attitudes. We're looking at the total package. Will this slide, be available to?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
We'll make them available.
A lot of it is just, once again, just numbers to give you an idea of what we accept and what we don't accept. You have my email, right? They have my email address, Dr. Jones?
We will provide it, yes.
Okay. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I don't mind setting up a Zoom interview with you as well, or just a advising session. So please reach out. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And I want to encourage the student. Next, we have Eastern Virginia. And we want to encourage you, when you ask your questions in the chat, if you want a specific school, please mention that school in the chat. Otherwise, we'll direct it to someone in general. Thank you very much, Ms. Bello.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. So Eastern Virginia Medical School, we call ourselves EVMS. We are in Norfolk, Virginia, which is in the southeastern part of Virginia. We call it the area Hampton Roads. We are about 3 or 4 blocks away from Norfolk State University, just to kind of give you a geographic reference. And I personally came to EVMS to do my postdoctoral fellowship after I finished my residency training. And the mission of EVMS boils down to our vision, which is we want to be the most community-oriented medical school in the country. And that was right in line with my own career aspirations and where I wanted to go with my career. So I fell in love with the institution, decided to stay on after fellowship, and eventually got involved in administration and became the Associate Dean of Admissions and Enrollment. And I will tell you, in each step, I see our vision. And so a couple of the things that we really tout about EVMS, and which does still boil down to our community involvement. People want to go to medical school because they want to see patients. So you, as a first-year student, you do start seeing patients right away. You want that clinical experience. But we also want to make sure that you're ready. So what we do is when you arrive for orientation, your class is going to be set into small groups, and your small group is going to adopt a family, a virtual family. And you're going to take care of that family over the next 2 years. So while you're learning the science of medicine, you're going to also learn the clinical practice of medicine. I'm going to give an example of what I mean. So you're taking care of a family. Uncle Peter is going to be diagnosed with diabetes. You're going to learn the physiology of the endocrine system, the pathophysiology of diabetes, the pharmacology of treating diabetes, some of the social determinants of health that determine how Uncle Peter does with your treatment regimen. So again, you're learning the science, but you're also learning the clinical approach. And what that's going to do is when you do get to your clinical years, you're going to be set and ready to go. A couple other things that we've done is we've restructured our curriculum so that you can start doing electives your 3rd year. That's going to give you a heads up on a lot of your competition when you're a 3rd-year medical student and eventually a 4th-year medical student applying for residency, because you're going to be able to get out there and explore different specialties, meet different residencies, different residency program directors your 3rd year. So I would say known is our ultrasound curriculum. It's nationally renowned, and that is because one of our department heads at EVMS was just the president of the American Institute of Ultrasound and Medicine. He literally wrote the textbook on ultrasound education in the United States, and so that's one thing that we're known for. And the other thing we're known for are community engaged learning. And so there will also be a fair for orientation for that. So you'll get to learn about the different opportunities to get out in our community, first responders, nutrition is medicine and exercise, infectious disease, care of the underserved, care of the elderly, global medicine, medical Spanish, our Mermaids program where you adopt a prenatal patient and help her navigate that. What we're doing is we're hitting head on the high maternal fetal mortality rate in the United States. And it's our students that are leading this. So, it's really impressive. I would say the one that's nationally renowned is our Hopes Clinic. It's the first student-run clinic in the state of Virginia, one of the first in the country, and students run this clinic. So just some of the statistics on our successes. I'm not going to discuss it in length because you can see it here. We've got a high graduation rate in 4 years. Our students do great on USMLE Step 1 and 2, amongst the highest in the nation, well above the national average. And then as far as our match rate, which are, all looking for, last year, 98%. We've been in the top 10 for our graduates matching into their #1 choice for their residency. We really well. This is an achievement I am super proud of. Last year was our most diverse class ever, higher than the national average, and I'm going to come back to that in a second. But some of the requirements, some of the preparation for medical school, similar to the other programs you talked about and the things we look at, we do take a holistic approach. But just a list of some of the things, you can see this on our website, so I won't go into too much detail about it. But this is our class that just started 2 weeks ago. Some of our statistics, so our class size is 151. We got about 6,700 applications that we whittled down to that 151. Out of that, 28 were underrepresented minorities, 17 African American, 5 Mexican Chicano, 2 Puerto Rican, 2 Native Hawaiian, and 2 Native American. And so that, again, what we're doing is we build a class that reflects our community, because they're going to be taking care of these patients in our community one day. I'm really proud we've got 10 rural applicants, the most we've ever had, 28 disadvantaged applicants. I mean, that's a pretty good percentage of our class. And out of that, 19 people in the class were first generation to graduate, and their family to graduate with a 4-year degree. So the 3.59, and that's an undergraduate GPA. When we add in post-bac programs and other graduate work, that GPA rises. With sciences and math and physics and chemistry, the average GPA is a 3.51, average MCAT 511.4. And you do see a variation between people who are in state and out of state.
Dr. Kimball, 5 minutes is up, unfortunately.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll refer people to our website, and thank you very much.
All right. Next up, we're going to have East Carolina University and Dr. Bright.
Mateys. East Carolina, Brody School of Medicine. We're known as the Pirates. We're in Greenville, North Carolina. Don't go looking for us in South Carolina. You won't find us. We are a in-state school, meaning that we only accept in-state students. I'm sorry to tell you that. I wish I could take out-of-state students, but unfortunately I can't. That's how we were chartered. How were we chartered? We were given 3 mandates. 1, improve the health outcomes of Eastern North Carolina. Number 2, increase the workforce for Eastern North Carolina. Number 3, increase the medical education access of racial and ethnic underserved populations in the state of North Carolina. That is our mandate. So that being the case, our class over the last 3 years has averaged about 33% underrepresented minorities, 17 to 20 African Americans, with 5 to 7 Latinx, with 1 to 2 Native Americans, giving us a demographic that looks very close to what we have the state of North Carolina. We have 53 females in our class and 33 males. Our class is only 86. Our average MCATs are 506, but we'll look at a 496. And our average GPA is a 3.6 science. Well, I want to tell you a couple of things is that the prerequisites that we have are very similar to Eastern Virginia's prerequisites. The way that we look at our students is in the model, an allegory of there are 4 tires on a car. And each one of those tires have to have a certain amount of air in those tires in order for the car to work effectively. And those 4 tires are represented by your GPA, your MCAT, your clinical experiences, and your medical and your volunteer experiences. That is our holistic review. Couple that with your letters and your personal statement, as well as if you have the opportunity to interview, we call that the gas in your car. So if you got 4 good tires and you come to interview and you give us good gas, you're going to go far. And so that's how we look at Brody. Now, one of the things that's important about this year that's different than all the other years is because of COVID. And because of COVID, many schools are going to virtual classrooms. So therefore, that means some of you are taking your prerequisites virtually, as well as virtual labs. We recognize that that is a significant instance, a significant issue for you, and therefore we need to make accommodations for that. So this year, this past spring, what you're doing this fall, maybe even what you have to do for the spring, this upcoming spring, we know that if you have to do online courses, we will accept those because that is the predicament that we all are in. We also know that you're not able to get the clinical experiences as well as the volunteer activities. You want to try to find other things that you can do to substitute for those activities since you're not going to be able to do those in person. And then last but not least, if you struggle when you came into medical school, struggle when you came into undergraduate school and you come up, well, you started at the bottom, but now you're here. Well, what happens if where you're here is not exactly where you want to be? Well, that's when you look at a master's program in order to try to improve yourself. And the whole point of that is that when we look at your application, we look at where you started and where you are. And we should evaluate you for where you are. And that's what we do at the Brody School of Medicine. ARG. You can give my time. I'm done.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to keep it moving, and we're going to, next is going to be Emory University and Dr. Graham.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Graham from Emory University School of Medicine. I guess in short, I am a part of the admissions committee. I do some of the screening for all of the URM or underrepresented minority applicants. So with that being said, as you guys know, Emory University School of Medicine is in Atlanta. I think one of our greatest strengths as a medical school is that we have multiple training sites. So we have Grady, which is, again, a huge level 1 trauma center, one of the largest in the country, as well as we have the VA here in Atlanta. We also have Emory Hospital, and then we have 2 community hospitals that are also associated. So as a student, you'll get a chance to train in all of those settings with various patient demographics that you would have a chance to interact with. From an admissions standpoint, Emory University is really putting a lot of emphasis this year on making sure that our classes are more diverse than they have been in the past. This past year's class was about 22% African American, which is for us, is very, very high. We used to just always be about 9%, 10% every year, but there is definitely a push to look at applicants from various backgrounds, even taking into account things such as working instead of being able to study abroad and do other things, which previously those were a huge focus. They still are, but I think, again, with the focus being on increasing underrepresented minorities, I think we're looking at different factors than we probably ever have. With that being said, our MCAT, I will just say, cutoff, for lack of a better term, is around 502. Less than 502 is a little difficult to be admitted, but at least a 502 for URM applicants and a BCPM of at least 3.2 is kind of where our, I hate to use the word cutoffs, but that's where our cutoffs kind of are, just being frank. Are there some people that make exceptions to that? Yes, but not many, to be honest. Those are kind of where we like the applicants to be in terms of students. So those are at least some of the things in regard to the admissions process. We are also overhauling and making sure that our curriculum is more focused on community engagement. So we have a course that is a 18-month longitudinal course called Community Learning and Social Medicine. And so actually you have a half day a week to embed in various communities throughout Atlanta. So you get a chance to be in disabled communities, impoverished communities. You get a chance to be in the mental health community. So you get a chance to kind of learn people and humanism before you have to get on the wards and come up with differential diagnosis and all those things. So those are some unique things to our curriculum. We also have the small group based learning and societies. All of the students are broken up into societies as well, to make sure that it's kind of an intimate experience, as well as traditional lecture, but we're moving to be more small group in nature in terms of the curriculum. Emory is a great place. We have every kind of research that you want, any subspecialty that you're interested in, you can do. And we have quite a few African-American faculty members who can mentor you between Grady, Emory Hospital. We have quite a few people that can help you as you navigate your medical career. So Emory is a great place to be. It's a great place to definitely launch your career from as you go on to residency and other things that you will go into after you finish medical school. And we are, as part of the person who does all the screening, I'm very excited to, in particular, have Black applicants, because I definitely think, majority of our training is at Grady Hospital, which is a majority African-American patient population. So I feel like our students should also represent that. And so I can tell you that Emory this year and the previous 2 years have really, really put a focus to try and do that. So if you're a promising applicant, which I know all of you are, we'd love to see your completed application. Love for you to apply to Emory.
All right. Well, thank you very much. So we have a little bit of time in between. I do want to just mention to all of the students that we are going to send you our information that talks about the cutoff for the MCAT, GPA, and all those. I see a lot of those questions in the chat, so we will provide you with all of that. I'm going to ask that the panelists, as you go forward, I see a lot of questions keep coming up about transfer students and international students. So for each of you, as you go along, while we have you there, Dr. Graham, if you could tell us, do you all accept international students and transfer students? And we'll give you extra 20 seconds to everybody so that you can answer that.
Yes, we do. It's rare for transfer students, but yes, international students, yes, we do. And we've actually, because of, again, Atlanta being such a diverse community as it relates to refugees, I don't know if people know that, but Atlanta has a huge refugee population. And so because of that, we have expanded helping people who are not from America to come to Emory, even financially helping as well. So yes, to answer those questions.
Okay. And we'll come back to those of you that went early. We'll come back and ask you those questions as well, because that keeps coming up in the chat. Also, while we're a little bit ahead of schedule, I think we are going to try, when we get to the question and answer period, we're going to try and allow some students to ask questions live. We'll try to see how it goes, but we'll need everyone that's not a panelist to please turn off your video, so it'll be easy for us to identify you if we call on you and you can turn on your video. We'll see how it goes for the first minute or so. Okay, next up, we're going to have Dr. David Rose from Howard University.
All right, thank you very much, Frank. Let me know if the PowerPoint is showing up okay.
Yes.
All right, so I'll just quickly run through a few slides and share with you a little bit about the College of Medicine. Just a little bit about our history. College opened in 1868. It was an evening school in the beginning. It started with just 7 Black students and 1 white and 5 faculty members with very broad entrance requirements. And we had the pretty much saying we would take everybody, all nationalities, all colors, and both sexes. And the first 5 graduates were in 1871. Unfortunately, this is not how much it costs to attend the College of Medicine these days, but believe it or not, this was actually considered expensive in 1868, and many of the students actually could not pay these fees, and the college actually suspended tuition for a number of years. Our mission statement, we say that we want to take students like yourselves who are out there, who are of exceptional quality, provide you with an excellent medical education, and send you out to serve the underserved. We do pay particular focus on educating students who are coming to us from a disadvantaged background who may not have had this opportunity. The class that we just entered, we took 118 new students and 2 repeating students. There were 65 new females and 53 males, representing 29 different states in DC and 73 different colleges and a small number of international students in the class. Our curriculum is driven through lectures, labs, small group activities. We use team-based learning. We have a very excellent clinical skills center with standardized patients and a robust simulation lab that is well incorporated, particularly in the clinical years. Right now, we are still heavily more basic sciences in the first 2 years and clinical in the second 2 years. However, clinical activity starts in the first year through a preceptorship program. You can see our grading scale here. We don't curve the exam, so everybody has the same opportunity to get honors on an exam as your classmate. And we do have retention efforts via remediation through summer school. School has a significant amount of academic support through the faculty, student tutors, and mentors, and the college also pays for certain resources such as Kaplan and UWorld. We do require step 1 for promotion to year 3, and CK and CS are required for matching for graduation. You see I have an asterisk next to CS since most of you are aware that the CS was suspended this year. Research opportunities, most of our students will do some research either between the first and second or the second and third year. The first 2 bullets on these are internal programs where we place our students with our own faculty, and the second 2 bullets on this slide are external programs due to relationships that we have with Hopkins and the NIH. Activities are quite abundant. The New Freedmen's Clinic is a student-run clinic, started several years ago to serve the underserved population within DC with faculty oversight. There are numerous student interest groups, and if we don't have one that you're interested in, you can start your own. Our students are heavily involved in the SNMA, and there is a significant representation on all of the committees within the College of Medicine. This is the 2020 match results. The specialties numbers represented in red meant that there were a few less students in that specialty compared to 2019. The green more than 2019, and the black numbers the exact same. As you can see, emergency medicine has become extremely popular among our students, and we had 16 students apply and 16 students match into emergency medicine. But we also had some specialties represented that we hadn't seen in a few years. We have a young lady who's at UT Southwestern in neurosurgery, as well as rad-onc and one in otolaryngology. The various places where they matched were pretty far and wide across the country. They represented 25 different states in DC. Obviously, you can see on the first bullet here that we accept a number of our students into our own residency programs, but pretty far and wide, our students were represented all over the country this past year. It was a very successful match for us. Impact of COVID, similar to most places, we pulled our students out of the clinical clerkships in March. We went fully online for the M1 and M2s. Our students re-entered, our 3rd and 4th years re-entered the hospital setting in June and have continued since. Our 1st and 2nd year students are pretty much virtual, but hopefully will come back online in the fall for some live activities. The impact on admissions, obviously, we're going to be all virtual for our interviews, all virtual visits. We will accept spring pass-fail grades on transcripts from this season. And we did extend our deadlines by 2 weeks for both our secondary and our primary applications. Just a little bit of the numbers from last year. We had about 8,900 primary applications. 494 MCAT is our cut point. So when you pull those out, there was about 4,800 who met that cut point. We offered 428 interviews. We actually interviewed 350 people who accepted those interview dates. And as I mentioned before, our class size was 118. What are we looking for? I think similar to some of the other panelists, we're looking for a well-rounded student that hopefully each one of us would be comfortable sending our family to, but someone who is obviously very mature and well-rounded, who's going to be a team player, problem solver, and obviously altruistic. When folks ask me, you know, what makes Howard special, I think I have to default and say it's the students. They really pull it off. They're involved in so many things that when they provide us a list of all the activities they get involved with, I kind of wonder how they actually figured out where to put in some time to actually study. But these are just a couple pictures kind of capturing some of their activities. The upper left is a mission trip to Uganda, Ethiopia. Bottom left is a Halloween harvest. Bottom right is a health fair. And then the top right, I believe, was a dinner that was associated with one of the SNMA functions in the past year. So that's just a little bit about us at Howard, and I'll be happy to take any questions later.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Rose. And next, we have Dr. Ravenel from NYU. This will be the last group for this session. Then we'll have our question and answer period. Again, please, in the chat, if you want to direct it towards a specific school, please do that.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm trying to share. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Yes, we see it.
Into slideshow mode. All right. Good evening, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to present to you from the NYU Grossman School of Medicine, where I'm the Associate Dean for Diversity and Inclusion. I actually do lead one of the executive committees of the admissions process, so I'm very familiar with it and really happy to be here tonight. So we believe that our mission is to train the physicians of tomorrow. When you come to NYU Grossman School of Medicine, this just lists several of the clinical training environments that you will be in, including some brand new hospitals, but we have a children's hospital, an orthopedic hospital, a rehabilitation hospital, some more community-focused hospitals, as well as great geographic diversity. We also have a partnership with the New York City Health and Hospitals Organization, which is one of the largest safety net organizations in the country. And the flagship hospital for that system is Bellevue Hospital, which is a really important part of our training programs. Our school has several academic and research accolades, but what we're most proud of, I think, is the fact that we have top awards for patient safety and quality for the last 3 years running. Providing the very best care to patients is what we really do care about most. The other thing that I'm going to talk about a little bit later that we're very proud of is our tuition-free initiative. Really one of the first in the nation to provide free tuition to everyone who matriculates at our school. This is what we look like on a map. We have several sites where we train and learn throughout the New York City area. So to focus on our academics, which is what you're all here to hear about tonight, we have a curriculum that we're very proud of. It's called the C21 curriculum for the 21st century. We believe it's integrative, patient-centered, disease-focused, flexible, and customizable. We have 3-, 4-, and 5-year pathways. The majority of our students still do 4-year pathways, as most do across the country. So we're going to start with that. So whereas most schools have a preclinical 2 years and a clinical 2 years, we actually have a preclinical 18 months where we essentially do all of the basic science and preclinical modules in the first 18 months, which gets you into your core clerkships 6 months earlier than at most other places. So what does that do? It gets you into the clinic faster, but it also gives you 6 months between the end of your core clerkships and your 4th year when you have to submit your residency application. So you really do get time to make one of the most important decisions of your life, which is what you're going to focus on in your medical career. We have a ton of research opportunities It's very important at our institution. Summer research fellowships, but lots of ways to do research, and many of our students graduate with honors as a result of their research. And we also have a very highly ranked MD, PhD program. We have a number of 4- and 5-year dual degrees because we sit in a world-class university in NYU, Masters in Bioethics, Biomedical Informatics, MBA, Master in Public Administration, and a number of other master's degrees. Our tuition-free program really is the realization of a dream. Lots of hard work and fundraising, obviously, but we really did want to create a circumstance where the people who come to our school do not have to worry about paying for tuition. But what do we mean when we say tuition free? I just want to be very transparent about that. So everyone who comes to everyone who gets accepted to our school and decides to matriculate, they are guaranteed to have the $57,000 of tuition covered. But outside of that, there are other costs of attendance, which total about $30,000. There are many other ways that we can support our students in paying for that, ranging from full tuition, full cost of attendance scholarships to several other means. We do have a 3-year pathway. We're one of the first in the country to offer the MD in 3 years. While this has been done in many other parts of the world, we're the first in the US to do it. And the way that we make it work is it comes with acceptance into one of our prestigious residencies here. Lots of benefits to the 3-year program, but if you are certain what you want to do with your life in terms of specialty, the 3-year option is a great thing to consider, and happy to talk more about that. Just to compare the 3rd and 4th years, they're very similar. What we do essentially is we take away for the 3-year program, we really take away this 6-month period between the 3rd and 4th years that people who don't know what they want to do use to decide. But since you already know what you want to do going into the 3-year program, we really make very good use of this time to make sure that you get everything that you need to be successful in your residency. So thank you so much for your time. We want all interested applicants to please complete your applications. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I look forward to the question and answer period.
All right. Well, thank you very much. That's the first 7. And we're going to go into our question and answer period. Again, we're going to ask, if you're not a panelist, if you could please turn off your video and mute yourself. If you're not a panelist, please turn off your video and mute yourself. It'll make it much easier for us to identify some of the students. We're going to ask all the panelists to please turn on your video. So I had a few questions. I'm going to start. Let me start my timer so I know. Sorry. Okay. First question that I want to bring out and just have someone ask. We had several questions about the last MCAT that you're going to accept. So if we could have several of you just real quickly, several of the panelists, when is the last MCAT you're going to accept?
It'll be January for us at Howard.
Okay.
We'll go to the end of September at ECU because of the 2-week turnaround. It should be back in time for most people to be able to use it for their regular admission cycle.
Okay. Ms. Hill?
Hello everyone. For MSM, it's the last testing date in September.
Okay. Ms. White? Can you hear me, Ms. White? Or Dr. Pettigrew?
The last testing date in September.
Okay. Ms. Curry Roberts?
Our last is January.
Okay. Dr. Kimball?
We will consider January, but of course we encourage you to get it in much sooner than that.
Okay. Ms. Johnson?
I believe it is January, and Ms. Kerr, correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
You are correct.
Okay. And Dr. Ravenel?
September, the last testing date in September.
Okay. All right. So, Jada, who is my sister, we're going to try and allow some students to answer some questions. Can we have, let's see, Adanze Inyagu. Are you available? So please turn off your video if you're not a panelist, and we'll ask you to turn it on. I see several students that have your videos on, so please turn off your video if you're not.
Yes, Dr. Jones?
Is Adanye Inyagu available?
This is Adanze.
Okay. Please ask your question. If you want to turn on your video, you can. Very brief question.
Good evening, and thank you all for having this Zoom meeting.
And a little louder.
Thank you for holding this Zoom meeting. It's very helpful. I want to ask the question, for someone who has good grades, good GPA, good experience, and good MCATs, what is the thing that will help set them apart when applying to medical school?
I'm sorry, so you said good grades, good MCAT, and good
Experience.
experience. Okay.
What will set them apart?
Dr. Rose, you want to?
If that's the package that you're presenting, the only thing that I think that can, mess that up is a poor interview.
Dr. Bright, sounds like they have all the tires, have all the air in them.
Well, I'll agree with Dr. Rose, the interview, but I think more also the vocabulary that you use in your application. You're a college graduate, and if you're using grammar and vocabulary that is more reminiscent of what you did in high school or sophomore year, then that does not show you as the potential that you have.
Okay. Let's see. A lot of these are school specific. So there was another question about military students. I know Dr. Kimball, you made a comment about in your chat about military students. Can you make that comment broadly, please?
Yeah, that's big for us because Norfolk is the home of the world's largest Navy base, and all branches of the military have bases here. And so we do give preference to those who are affiliated with the military. One of the comments I made is that is a group that we want to make sure we are putting out a cohort of providers who are going to take care of those who protected and served us one day. And so that's very important to us. So yeah, make sure that you clarify your military affiliations as you're applying.
Okay. There have been several questions also about research. How big is research at your individual institutions? We know that it plays a small role, but do any of your institutions does it play a major role? Dr. Ravenel, does it play a major role at NYU?
So it definitely plays a major role in the school as far as the role that it plays in the admissions process. Certainly, we look very favorably on students who have some research experience. It absolutely is not a deal breaker and is not an expectation that students will have done research. What I would say is, whatever research you've done, be able to talk about it articulately and passionately at your interview. That's probably the most important thing.
Dr. Bright, did you have? Okay. There was a quick question about Casper. Did any of you require Casper? Everybody's shaking their head no.
We do ask for Casper results, but But we share with the students is that it's not used in any negative way with their application right now. We've been collecting the data. This is our 3rd year, and just trying to figure out if it's something that we would, like to use in the future. But since it looks at very soft characteristics, you really have to wait until the students get into more clinical settings to kind of figure out if it truly hasn't, can show you some sort of outcome measure.
Okay. I want to go back to University of Pittsburgh, Ms. White, and Dr. Pettigrew, and also to Florida State, Ms. Bello. I have to admit I cheated a little bit, and I gave the other schools a little bit longer time than you all did. I want to give you just a little bit more time, but I do want to ask you all about international students and transfer students. Do you all accept international students and transfer students?
At the University of Pittsburgh, we do accept international students. Transfer students are always difficult. It isn't impossible, but it's a very unlikely occurrence unless the first 2 years in some way match up with what we are doing. Typically, it would be something that could be considered at, at that point. It isn't impossible, but it's a case by case. It's a matchup process, and sometimes extenuating circumstances can impact that decision. The transferring is tough all over.
Ms. Bello. She may have signed off. Okay. Seen a lot of questions in the chat. A lot of them refer to MCATs and those things. Let's see. Personal statement for our schools. Okay, so let's see, Omelia Ngamini. Oh, no, never mind. I said privately. Never mind. Okay. She's putting sir. Okay, Delisa Sims, do you want to ask your question?
Hi, hello everyone. I wanted to thank you all for coming. I wanted to know what a successful applicant looks like at your institution.
Can you be a little more specific? Because that's like everyone has a little bit of a different profile. Can you be a little more specific?
I guess in terms of outside of your MCAT scores, what do you think would be the thing that you look at to help determine who gets an interview?
Ms. Carrie Roberts from Harry, can you handle that one first?
The admissions committee at Meharry completes a holistic review. So certainly we're considering your academic achievement, your MCAT, your GPA, cumulative, but also your science GPA. I would say another factor, in addition to research, shadowing, hours, another factor that's critical at Meharry, thinking about students that are mission driven. A little bit later on this evening, I'm going to talk about the Meharry mission and students that are committed to have a demonstrated passion for serving others, whether that's in your health experiences or other clinical experiences that you may have had in undergrad or graduate school or even volunteering. So that would be one main piece at Meharry.
Okay. Anybody else want to address that? Dr. Bright?
I want to echo Ms. April Roberts' statement and say that people really don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And what we're looking for are people that have shown the ability to care, because our job is to teach you how to keep people healthy. And if you combine keeping people healthy with caring for them, then that's how we transform healthcare.
Okay. Dr. Ravenel, when you get a chance, there are a lot of people asking questions about your different programs. I mean, I was really fascinated to hear the different types of programs that you have. So there are a lot of questions in the chat, and we'll come back to that maybe if we have a little bit more time. For all of you, is anyone having in-person interviews? Anyone? Nobody's having in-person interviews. Anyone doing the what's it called? The Vita? Let's see, Ms. Hill, I see you shaking your head.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Actually, we'll have our first round of Vita interviews. We will be using that as part of our also the interview process starting Friday.
Okay.
With AMCAS.
And I spoke with Ms. Jordan, and she was Dr. Jordan, and so she was telling me you all are using the. And first of all, can you tell them what the Vita is, and you all will be using it?
It's a video. Yeah, the students we send them once we invite them for an interview. AMCAS will send them every Thursday. They send the students the link to record a personal video that we will use in addition to our virtual videos as well.
Okay.
And so they get to create this video. It's their own personal, it's their opportunity to really, I say, sell yourselves to the schools. So we will use that as well.
Question.
And it's also, I'm sorry, Dr. Jones, it's also made available for the committee members. So we send a link for our admissions committee. So the committee members actually get an opportunity to view those videos prior to interview day.
Okay. A question that comes up all the time. Someone has a low GPA, but they went and did a master's program or post-bac program. How is that looked upon? Ms. Kerr?
Yes, hi. So I know every institution addresses post-baccalaureate programs, master's programs, PhDs differently. So I will speak, of course, on behalf of MUSC. When we calculate your competitiveness or your overall index score, as we call it, we defer automatically to your cumulative undergraduate GPA. And what we have is a process that we call added value, right? What is added? What have you done to enhance your application or brought added value that would then add value to the incoming class? And in other words, in short, bonus points. And so that is done on the back end. So if you do have graduate work, post-bac, master's, PhD, we do capture that in the back end, and it is calculated into your overall index score.
Dr. Graham, you want to comment on that?
Sure. We definitely look at post-bac master's program, especially if there was a significant improvement. So I can think of even recently, we had an applicant that had like a 2.9 science GPA from their undergraduate, but then they went on to a post-bac program and had like a 3.8, and it was all science. The whole GPA was in science. So it was so strong and so compelling that even though with the new calculator it was slightly below where we like for people to be, we still actually interviewed this applicant and offered them admissions ultimately. So we definitely take that into consideration, especially if it's a significant improvement.
Okay. Let me see how much time we have before we have to. We have a few minutes. Dr. Graham, while we have you there, one person asked, should they contact the Diversity Inclusion Office after they've applied? Is there any benefit to doing that?
So I would say more importantly is probably the people that are in the admissions office. If they have like an Office of Multicultural Affairs or Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion office after, let's say you've gone through the process and you have specific questions about culture and climate of the institution, then I think that's important. But from an admissions standpoint, I think as long as you're in contact with people in the admissions department and you've been selected, you can always reach out to them if you just want to know more information. But I think from an admissions standpoint, those two some ways are separate. They influence clearly, right? There's always some overlap if you know people, but I would say more importantly would be to focus kind of on the admissions process and making sure you're a good competitive applicant from that standpoint.
Okay. I kind of went overboard a little bit, a little personal privilege. I knew there may be a few outstanding questions, but we're gonna jump right ahead. First of all, we wanna thank all of you from the first group. We'd love for you to stay on. great information. There are lots of questions in the chat for all of you. So we'd love for you to stay if you're available. But we're going to move right along now and go to our next group, starting with MUSC.
Hi, everyone. My name is Charlotte Kerr again, and I serve as the Director of Admissions for the College of Medicine at MUSC, the Medical University of South Carolina, which is located in beautiful Charleston, South Carolina. We are considered the oldest medical school in the South, and we are thrilled to be here today. We have many strengths, but one of the things that I think that you can take away from MUSC is a really renowned academic setting with strong curriculum, impressive research opportunities, while also being nested in a really, it takes you 5 minutes to leave the downtown hustle and bustle of MUSC and the medical complex in downtown Charleston, and 5 minutes, 10 minutes in any direction, and you are back into rural settings. So not only do you have such a large access to an academic institution, you also have access to community-based hospitals and training. One of the other main points that we pride ourselves on is the student support that we offered in USC, and Miss Natalie Johnson, who's here with me as well. She is our Associate Dean of Diversity Affairs for MUSC, and she has plenty of information to share with us related to support. So again, lots of opportunities at MUSC. We adopted what we call the Flex curriculum about 2 years ago. And of course, we still have the model of your pre-clerkship curriculum in the first 2 years with your clinical clerkship in years 3 and 4. But what we did is, instead of having that summer break off in between years 1 and 2, we let you dive into research, humanities, experience with humanities, experience with, if you want to pursue a master's in public health, if you want to pursue a master's in clinical research, kind of being able to tailor medical school to fit your interest and the things that fill your cup and challenge you and get you excited. I'm not sure if we've been able to share the screen or the PowerPoint yet. I've got some really great slides there to give you a brief snapshot of when we look at admissions, what are we looking for? What do we look for in applicants? How do we meet the applicants where you are with what's happening in the world today and what's happening at your campus, or if you're a non-traditional student? If we're unable to get the slide up, do not worry. I have this memorized by heart.
I just emailed it again to Dr. Hubbard. Did you get it, Dr. Hubbard?
The other presentations in a more relaxed fashion. Tammy.
And that's okay. If not, I'll keep gabbing that
Yeah,
way.
I have it, but it's just for some reason it's not pulling up on my end, and I do humbly apologize. For some reason, it's not pulling up.
That's okay. That's okay. There are 4 pieces when we talk about holistic admissions at MUSC. 4 equal parts. My favorite part comes later, which I introduced earlier, about added value, bonus points. Who doesn't like bonus points? I don't care if we're in elementary school or med school. Everybody loves.
There are 409 people on the.
Dr. Rose, can you mute yours?
Oops.
That's okay. So those 4 parts, that first, of course, you all can guess, is going to be your MCAT score. We do take the overall composite score, meaning we don't take different sections and super score. We take the one score, and it's your highest. So many of you, if I were going through this process, I know I would need to take it more than once. And the good news at MUSC is we take your highest attempt. The second part out of 4 is looking at your cumulative undergraduate GPA. And I say cumulative because we also do adjust your GPA based on the college that you attended and graduated from. It's your college competitiveness. I always like to throw in a disclaimer here that do not worry, there is no concern about getting adjusted negatively or that there's any reductive points here. It is only an enhancement. For example, if you've graduated from an honors college or a highly competitive school. The third part, again, this is where it gets big. We'll only go up from here. Is going to be outside of academics, right? We first, of course, screen academically. But when we get to the meat of it, to the heart of it, and to the heart of who you are, that would be your what we call your experiences and accomplishments, right? Your shadowing, your clinical exposure, your volunteering, leadership, what your letters of recommendation say about you, the things that set you apart outside of numbers, right? Outside of test scores, how you spent your time, whether as an undergraduate, you're in your gap year, or you're a non-traditional student, you're in the military. All of those things in USC really looks highly upon, because we're hoping that not only have you tested the waters, right, and you have pushed and you have come so far in your journey to be a physician, but we hope that that doesn't stop the minute that you're admitted to MUSC. We hope that you seek out leadership and mentorship and further service-oriented activities, further get involved. There's so much community service here at MUSC. We sometimes, Natalie will tell you, we kind of have to tell our students to pump the brakes. You're getting too involved. You're having too much fun. You're still students first. So again, just if I've lost anybody, that first point is 25% GPA, MCAT, then your experiences, and of course, the last final portion, how you interview. And that, of course, gives us an overall component of who you are as an applicant. We do have added value, and I do think I'm running low on time here. If we ever get the slides up, I have a great slide for you about what is qualify, but I do want to turn it over to my fabulous partner in crime here, Miss Natalie Johnson, about all the support and diversity. And if I don't mention it, we are thrilled. We are at 20% URM for our new class of 2024. 20% of our incoming class of 180 are URM. So we're thrilled. Miss Natalie, help me close the deal here with that.
Thank you, Charlotte. So I want to point out that the two of us are presenting together. And the reason we are is because I'm with the group on diversity affairs, she's with admissions. And diversity is embedded throughout our medical school. And the reason why we're so successful at doing that is because we collaborate well together. I'm on the admissions committee. Charlotte does work with us in diversity affairs. So we pretty much go hand in hand. And I'd also like to acknowledge Ms. Kelly Jenkins. She's on the line as well. She is our assistant director for diversity affairs. But what I wanted to talk about is the diversity that we have here at MUSC. And Ms. Kerr already mentioned our incoming class. We're at 20% URM, underrepresented medicine students. We pride ourselves on diversity. We support our students wholeheartedly, especially our URM students in diversity affairs. And that is because we're able to do that because we collaborate with all the different offices at MUSC, Office of Admissions, Student Affairs, Curriculum. We all work together. So oftentimes when you have Student Affairs presenting, you may have someone from diversity there as well. But we have fabulous support programs for our prospective students, those in the pipeline. So that would be our pipeline programs. We have several of them. Once you decide you want to apply to medical school and you make contact with us, we like to say you're stuck with us until you get into medical school. We don't leave your side. We guide you through that process. And a part of that is through mentorship. Again, our pipeline programs. We can connect you with the medical student that could help guide you through taking the MCAT, anything, shadowing opportunities. So there are a lot of opportunities available, and we have support programs for our current students as well, because not only do we want to get you into medical school, we want to make sure you graduate. So we have awesome support programs. One in particular, we have small group sessions for our underrepresented in medicine students, and Ms. Kelly actually runs that program. But it provides a safe space, a smaller space, and a safe space for students to come together and talk about anything that they have going on. Test taking issues, anxiety, how to balance family and school life. So those are some of the programs that we have. I do want to mention two of our major accomplishments. We are in the 10th percentile for enrolling African American students. And we're also in the 96th percentile for graduating African American students, which really helps what I just said. Not only do we get you in, we keep you in, and we make sure you stay and you successfully graduate. So I think one of our major accomplishments would be to get someone in, get these students in, get you all, support you throughout your 4 years, get you to graduate. Oftentimes our students come back as residents. If they go away for residency, they come back as faculty, and we call it growing our own. If that's what you want to do and you want to stay with us, we do everything we can to support you. So our office deals with the pipeline, the current students, the residents, and the faculty. So we support underrepresented in medicine throughout the whole gamut of MUSC. And I think I covered it all. I think we did quite well, Charlotte, without the slides. But thank you very much.